So, Laura, I can't wait. I'm very excited to have you today
Thank
because
you
I
so
know
much.
you. You're a beautiful person. Your story is amazing.
Thank you. You're so
And
sweet.
I'm happy that you're here.
Oh, I'm so honored. Look, I
I'm
get
honored.
teary-eyed. Look at that. I get teary-eyed. Sorry, I'm honored. Thank you
It's
so
okay.
much.
So, tell us your name. You can present yourself to the audience and what you do.
Sure. Well, my name is Lora Cerulli, or Lora Cerulli, if you want to say it in the Italian way. And I'm president and founder of Group PCV, PCV, which stands for Personnel Chez Vous. And this is a headhunting and recruitment company that I founded and started over 15 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. Huh?
Oh my God, yeah.
15 years ago.
I can't believe it.
And then how did you come about to say, you know what, I'm going to launch myself in a
Oh my
business?
gosh. Well, I always felt that I was an entrepreneur. Like I always, even the past positions I've held, I'm a finance graduate.
Okay.
And I worked my way up over as a young adult in finance. And I got to a stage where I was a venture capital wholesaler.
Okay.
So that means I paraded, from Bay Street all the way down to, from Toronto down, up to Peterborough and then back down on the 401. And my territory was all along the 401, then up into Ottawa and then back down again to Montreal, all the way to Quebec City.
A lot of traveling.
A lot of traveling. And basically, I loved it because I was the master of my calendar, of my schedule. And I would I had my quota, and I would meet with financial advisors and brokers and discuss and wholesale my venture capital mutual fund that I was representing. So I loved it, and I worked my way up in that field, and recruitment I got pushed into it. I got pushed into it. I never thought I'd be in this type of field, but I'm glad I got pushed into it because it's my calling. Well, by the time I had my first child, Amanda, when I had her, while I was on mat leave, unfortunately, my employer one day called me and told me that they are restructuring, quote unquote, which means basically, we got to fire you. You're too expensive. We're cutting costs. We're getting rid of you. Basically, that's what it was. And it was such a blow to my soul and my heart because
No doubt.
I've always, this is a position that I always strived for, and I finally had it. And I worked so hard to get it.
Yeah.
I had moved to Toronto as well for a little while and then moved back to Montreal. Anyways, it was just devastating.
And how long were you in that position?
That field? Oh, in that position in particular, I must have been in that position finally, a good 4 to 5 years.
4 to 5 years.
Yes, because I remember my 30th birthday. It's like, yay, that's my biggest gift, getting this final big promotion in corporate Canada and being a venture capital wholesaler. So that was my big gift. I was delighted. I was just over the moon. Anyways, about 4 or 5 years after, they restructure, quote unquote. So I was just devastated. And I'm on mat leave. And even though I'm on mat leave, there was nothing I could do because they were using the word restructure.
So while you're on mat leave, then you get the call.
My daughter was 6 or 7 months old, and I'm packing her up in a, the chair, the car seat.
The
car
booster,
seat.
yeah.
The car seat. And we were on our way to the airport. My in-laws were coming any moment to pick me up because I was going to Vancouver. And I was going to Vancouver for my company's national hoopla. Right? And I told them, even though I'm on mat leave, I'm still part of the team. I'm still involved. So, they said, no problem. So for the big national meeting, I had bought my tickets. And so I'm packing my daughter up in the car seat and the phone rings. As the phone rings, I see my in-laws from the window. I see them riding up to my driveway. So I pick up the phone and it was my boss. And I said, you never call me. What's going on? Like, this is not your style. What are you calling me for? And he says, this is going to be very difficult. Hold on. I'll pass you to HR. I'm like, what? What's going on? So HR gets on the phone and says, Laura, I'm really sorry. We're restructuring. And now the doorbell is ringing. And I said to Miss HR, Miss HR, I won't use names, but I said, Miss HR, I'm on my way to Vancouver, literally, with my baby. My baby was going to be babysat by cousins that we have in Vancouver. And I was going to stay with them, saving corporate money on hotels and all that. And she said to me, "Oh my God, Laura, I completely forgot that you're coming this week. I forgot." I said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, you just destroyed my whole world right now." Because all I'm thinking, as I'm getting fired, I'm thinking about my mortgage. I just had a baby and I want to buy her baby clothes and enjoy all that stuff. And I'm just thinking about the future. Like, it's just looking bleak, right? I mean, we got a mortgage. We're a new family. So anyways, she said, "Oh my gosh, Laura, I'm really sorry." I said, "Listen, Miss HR, we're going to hang up now," because my in-laws have now rang the doorbell 3-4 times, wondering when am I going to come to the door. I said, "You're going to put me on first class." I was so mad. I said, "You're going to put me on first class, and you're going to do this properly face-to-face, and we'll talk, in Vancouver." So no problem, So my in-laws, I go to the door and my mother-in-law is like, "What's going on? Why are you crying?" I'm like, "Oh no, it's just hormones, And I couldn't wait to get into the private lounge at Air Canada to call my husband to tell him I got fired.
He doesn't even know yet.
No, because now my in-laws are picking me up. I don't want to tell my in-laws and upset them. So, and literally I was packing up the baby in the car seat. Anyway, it was just devastating. So I really understand the pain of getting, laid off, fired, and it was unjust. But, I'm not going to start fighting. They're using that word restructure. So whatever.
Restructure is the word.
We're restructuring. So, my husband says, "Oh, we're going to fight about this." And I said, "Oh, it's such a waste of energy. Instead of fighting and taking years in court or months and getting more frustrated if you lose." I said to myself, deep down inside, something inside of me says, "No, just focus on something positive. Start to recreate." Instead of thinking and spending that energy on, "I'm going to fight the court. Why don't you just take the time to say, all right, you're 30 years old or 32, I forget what age I was. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now?"
And a lot of people are, and maybe right now or have been in your situation, it's a big switch because then you're like,
Huge.
what's next, right? It's been 4 and 5 years in that position that you aspired to.
Well, that's it. Because that position, it's few and far between. There is not an abundance of that role here in Montreal. The head office was in Vancouver. That's why I was going to Vancouver for the big national hoopla. So these positions are few and far between, and it's all I knew.
Exactly.
And I'm like, what am I going to do now? I don't want to be a financial advisor. I loved wholesaling the products. Now what? And that was always the question for weeks and weeks. Now what?
So we know the end story. We know you have a business now in recruiting. So now tell us the gap. We know you got fired. How did you open the business?
So I was incredibly, incredibly depressed. So I came back from Vancouver and, looking at my husband, now what? And one day my husband came back and he was frustrated. And he says, "I'm so frustrated. What an awful day I had today." I said, "My goodness, what's going on?" Meanwhile, I don't even know if I even brushed my teeth that day because that's a type of, that's the type of emotion I was living at that time, just so depressed, raising this baby, thinking about, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? At the time when I got fired, my husband knows that I like to splurge on this and that. So he had taken away all my plastic, as we say, and he would just give me an allowance. He says, "I know this is terrible, Laura, but we're on one salary now, and I'm giving you cash to use for the week. Make it last for diapers and groceries, and that's it, So think about it twice before you go to the pharmacy and get yourself 3 more lipsticks because you can't decide on one color. Just don't forget it, Anyway, but jokes aside, that's how we were living. So anyways, he came back discouraged, and I said, "What's going on, Because I'm so upset. He says, "I'm an IT architect engineer, and I get a call from a recruiter today, and she's wasting my time. She got me an interview, but then before the interview, I had to conduct so many tests. She's testing me left, right, and center." Because, basically, she sent me to a coding position job, like a real data, entry-level coder. Because I'm an architect. I'm an engineer. And he says, "I'm so frustrated. She wasted my day." And he was really upset about it. And I said, but my goodness, like, how hard could it be? Like, I said, that's so ridiculous. Like, how hard could it be for that person to just go a little step extra, an extra step, and say, hey, you know, my client is looking for this type of technology or ability. Do you have, pardon my ignorance, but do you have that? I'm so sorry. I'm not an IT person.
Yeah.
You know, you seem very versed in IT. Yeah, you're an architect, you're a software. Sorry, we have this opening. I beg your pardon. I don't want to insult your intelligence, but would this be a match? How hard is it to ask? So my husband just looked at me and he says, well, there you go. That's why you need to be a recruiter. And I'm like, I'm in my pajamas, my teeth probably not brushed. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, because Lora, I'm telling you, you need to be a recruiter. You're a natural at this. I said, oh, Mike, shut up. Like, really, you know? And he says, no, Lora, I'm serious, because he says, you're very social.
Yeah.
And he made a joke how I'm very kumbaya. That's how he calls me. You're so kumbaya, because I put people together and I'm just jolly and positive and I want everything to work out nicely. And so he says, you know, this would be perfect for you. So I said, okay, whatever, Mike. Well, I didn't know this, but then my husband sent my CV to an agency. And I didn't know that.
Wow.
It's so randomly. I'm in bed one day. I was really depressed. I have like these are days, half days in bed type of depression.
And also
right?
you just had a baby, so
I
that
just
could
had
be
a baby.
postpartum too, yeah.
And that's why I felt so bad for this baby. Like, I just wanted to, you know, baby girl, I want to go to Fairview, Point Claire, and just get her some baby clothes that are fun. But I can't have that extra splurge, right? I don't have that discretionary income anymore.
Yeah.
And it was just insulting to me, because it's like, I worked so hard. You know, I'm a finance graduate, worked hard toward that position. I just felt like, what is this? You know, anyway, I was just devastated. So I get this phone call, and I was in bed, and they said, hi, you know, we got your resume. I'm like, you did? Like, who are you? You know, we're in this agency, this recruitment agency, and we'd like to interview you. And I said, all right, what the heck, you know. So I went to the interview. And of course, I was hired on the spot, because why do I say of course? Not because I got a big ego, I don't, but because she interviewed me, and they wanted to start a new division in accounting and finance. And because of my background, they said, this is wonderful. You understand what our clients are looking for. You understand the positions. We'd like you to head that up. So I got the job. Now, I did have an ego at the time, because I was so upset thinking, oh my God, no, I can't believe it. It's half my salary. You know, of what I used to earn. And I was that too, still, my husband did not give me back any plastic yet, because of the way we were living, the mortgage we had, you know, and the salary was half of what I used to earn. But however, did I ever find my calling? You know, I never forget the first time I placed somebody as an account technician. I found him the position. And I matched that person with the employer. And it was the right match, because the person knew how to do the job, but also the character was a great fit for that working environment. And that working environment was a great fit and satisfactory for that person's lifestyle and abilities. I never forget that day at the desk. I actually had tears in my eyes when the client says, oh, we'll hire this person you presented us. And I said, oh my God, this is such a great feeling, you know, and I really felt like that was my calling.
Nice. So then you're working there for some time, and then that enabled you eventually to go on your own way.
I get teary-eyed too. Like, it moves me.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I'm crazy. Look at that, I'm crying.
No, you're not.
But it moves me. It really moved me. And that's when I thought, wow, I found my calling. That's my calling. This is wonderful, you know? But then I started off I went off on my own after that. Yeah, after 6 months. After 6 months.
That's pretty quick.
It's pretty quick because of the business acumen I had. Again, I don't have a big ego, but just because I've been around venture capitalists, I was around a lot of engineers. Oh, sorry, I'm crying like crazy. I was a
tissue maybe somewhere.
No, it's okay. You know, when I sold venture capital mutual funds, I would bring with me, because we're investing in entrepreneurs. We are investing in a doctor's patent. We are investing in an engineer's new technology. So, you know, what we would do is I would bring along these engineers and these doctors with me on the road to introduce them to financial advisors and say, here, you are investing in this man's idea. You know what? Have the doctor explain it to you what his patent is all about, or what he has designed, you know? Like, there were so many things that we represented. So my point is, because of that business acumen that I had developed over the years, there's things in a large agency that I did not like. That it's a Lora thing. Yeah. It's a Lora thing. I feel like, there's a lot of bureaucracy sometimes, or just unnecessary meetings. Yeah. Like, I just want to get to the point. Like, client calls, I need a controller, I need a new engineer, I need a new, clerk, I need a new accounting technician. All right, get the specs, let's do this. Let's find that person. We don't need, to stop for 10, meetings on policies and in-house this and in-house that. I find that I just wanted to run my own business where the client is my boss. Yeah. That's how I feel. I feel like I want to render a service where what I do, I don't need other bosses but my clients to be the boss and what they need, and just render the service. So that's why I just branched out and did it my way, And one day, there was one thing that did happen at the agency that really got me fired up. So I was pregnant now with my second child, Alex, and very pregnant. And my boss came to me and said, "Can you put an ad up? It's for an account technician." I said, "Oh, lovely. We have a new mandate." She says, "No, we don't. We just need to fill up our database." I said, "What? You want me? Am I going to be lying? Like, Lora, stop asking your questions. Just do it." So I did, and I hated it. So finally, this one gentleman came to downtown and met with me for this job. And we get in a boardroom, and he says, "I really hope I get this, because I just arrived to Canada about a couple of years ago, and I got 2 kids, and I really need this job."
And there's no job. There's no mandate for it.
I couldn't do it. So I said, "Listen," I said, "there is no job. This is not a real job." And he's like, "What?" I said, "Please don't get upset." I said, "What we're going to do is the following. I really want to clean up your resume. Your resume needs help. Your resume needs to get more attention. And I'm going to shape it up that you'll get more phone calls. So let's sit down now. Let me work on your resume. And after we're done," I said, "I'm going to walk down with you." Because what? I said, "I'm quitting. I'm leaving."
Really?
You're going to, I'm not joking. I said, "You're going to wait for me at the elevators. I'm going to ride the elevator down with you." Goes, "You're kidding me." I go, "I'm not." So I worked on the resume. Then I went back to my desk. I got my purse, and I left.
Wow.
I left with them down the elevator.
What a huge decision.
So then I got into the train on the way home, and I told my husband, "I quit." And he says, "Oh my God, Lora, I'm going to kill you." He goes, "Okay, well, first of all, you're going to give me back the plastics. You give me back everything." He says, "And tomorrow, Lora," and I never forget, I remember this scene like it was this morning, and I was on the train. I remember very well. And he says, "And tomorrow you're going to go downtown and you're going to open up your own business." I said, "I sure will." I said, "Mike, I could do this in my sleep. This is so much fun. It's so easy, because I told you so." He says, "You're going to go downtown and you're going to call the company Personnel Chez Vous." And I'm on the phone going, "Oh, that's such a good name, Mike."
Really? He gave you the name?
Yeah.
Wow.
He goes, "You're going to call it Personnel Chez Vous because you're personable. And also you find personnel. And Chez Vous is cute." Yeah. Everyone across Canada, Anglos, Francophones, we all understand Chez Vous. It's cute. He says, "And that's what you're going to do." I said, "Okay." He goes, "And you're not spending any money. You're going to give me your card until you bring it in." I said, "All right, shut up." And I just, hung up. And that's how it started.
Wow.
Personnel Chez Vous started. The name came up on the train.
Wow. I mean, your husband, I have to meet him. Like, handshakes.
You must. Yes, you must. Anyway, so that's how it started.
But that's a lot of support from him. Definitely. No.
Yes, it's a lot. We're very, I guess we are a power couple, more like really supportive. I mean,
yes,
we are all we got, I don't have any other support apart from him and some good friends that I've been blessed with over the years. both our parents are elderly. I've got an estranged family, so it's just him and I, So, yeah.
Well, that's a good segue into the next part where we're going to dive in a little bit. Now, we understand the concept, how you started the business.
Right.
What a big switch that you had to make being an employee. Now you switched to become an entrepreneur, just like that, with the support of your husband.
Oh my gosh. And that's all new territory. Because I thought, how am I going to even get clients? I had a million questions. How do you even start a business,
But to go back to your family a little bit.
Yes.
Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, what can I say? It's, it's just sad. It took years to, overcome because being an entrepreneur, you got to have a lot of confidence, right?
Yeah.
And even on days like you don't believe in yourself, you got to even be able to say, wow, today I'm not really believing in myself, but it's okay because I believe in myself. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of self-talk as an entrepreneur because there are days that you're like, oh, can I really do this? And you got to be confident enough to nurture yourself and say, I know now you're not feeling confident, but I'm confident you're going to find that confidence again. So just do the next step, please.
I like that.
But that takes a lot. That's nurture. And I think that maybe like as a child, maybe I wasn't so nurtured, if you will. So, grow up with, I was like the last child of my family, the youngest, and I was told sometimes that I was a mistake. So sometimes I was told that I was a mistake, that I was definitely not a planned birth, that's for sure. I was not a planned child. My sisters are much older than I.
How many sisters do you have?
I got two.
Two older ones?
Yeah, so, I think that my birth, now in retrospect, as I get older, I look back, first I was like so, really angry and sad and frustrated because I really did lack a lot of that family nurture. I had two kids, I have two kids, and I had two C-sections, and, wow, where's the help that I thought I'd get, you hear your friends where their moms are going over or their sister went over and brought them soup, and
they're going to stay with them for like 2 months.
Or they stay. Oh my God, if they could even just bring soup, because after a C-section, it's hard to move.
Yeah.
The pain that you endure is ridiculous. And you have to, now I had a toddler at the time. With my second child, I had a toddler and then my baby, and it's hard to move around. And I thought, wow, like I was really on my own. So for many years, I felt really, unloved. I think growing up, I always seeked for validation because I didn't know how to find the validation from within, right? So I always, seeking validation, one that seeks validation can be quite an annoying person, right? So that's when people say, oh, you're so needy. Yeah, you need validation because you don't know how to get it from inside, right? So just a lot of things like that. I don't know why we are the way we are, unfortunately, in my original family. I don't know. I was born last, and I don't know. Maybe it's a bunch of wrong characters smushed up together. I don't know. But I didn't get that. I didn't feel loved or ever supported or ever validated. But I definitely never felt very loved, And that's tough because, you going into business too. It's like, like growing up, many times I was told, you're ugly, flat out. You laugh ugly, you cry ugly, and that's like, what can I do? That's my character.
Yeah.
If I'm passionate, I cry. See, I've cried twice today, because I'm touched. I'm touched. You invited me. I'm touched by my story of my love for what I do. Yeah. That's how I am, but, I would be condemned for that many times. You cry ugly, you laugh ugly, you're fat. Whatever, so many things, flat out. But anyway, through the years, you work it out, and I find that till one day you realize that you got to really remove the toxicity, to move on, because all those years, that's the thing. There was one day, we were vacationing. It was actually in Myrtle Beach with my husband and my two kids. My kids were very young still. At this time, maybe I don't know, Amanda must have been 9, Alex 7. And I told my husband, okay, the kids are good on the beach. We could see them. I got to take you for a walk. He's like, what? I got to take you for a walk. We got to talk. And I said, you know what, Mike, because my husband was always frustrated with me. He saw so much potential in me, but I'd always be handicapped by this lack. And I'd be chasing after something that I'll never get. And he'd tell me, you're never going to get what you want. You don't have, family members that will give you this nurture. It ain't going to happen. Stop trying. Stop chasing, right? Yeah. Stop, trying to, let's talk about this or it's not going to happen. That's how it is, Anyway, so
not easy to hear those words.
It's
the
not.
reality.
It's not. Yeah. It's not. You feel bad. My kids don't have aunties that really cared. Like, nobody ever called them for their birthday, even when they were first born. Even when they were born, they got like no visits or. It's just so weird. It's just heartbreaking. Anyway, so one day, finally, I don't know how I got courageous enough, and I told my husband in Myrtle Beach, on the beach, I said, I have to talk to you. I said, you know what? I made a big decision right now that I have to cut ties. And that means that you're going to have to stop reminding me, because my husband, when he met me, that's the type of guy he is. He recorded everybody's birthday, everybody's anniversary, I said, you got to stop that. Because you don't get a phone call for your birthday. Our kids don't get a phone call. Nobody tells us, congratulations, it's your wedding anniversary today. Yeah. So stop that. So I'm cutting ties. So you have to just stop it. We're not going to even ponder celebrating, holidays. I have to start quickly. I have to start integrating my own values and traditions for my kids. Because my kids can't see me once again go to a family function on Christmas and walk out of there offended, crying,
Okay, because that's that's
all
what
the
happens.
time,
Okay,
right? And so then you're told, oh, but you're so sensitive. Maybe you're so mean. I don't know. And maybe I am sensitive. But can we not, if I am sensitive, if I'm sensitive, then maybe
don't talk about those nasty things.
Maybe refrain, It's hard to tell somebody, oh, toughen up, I'm only kidding, or it's not a joke,
of course.
It's not a joke, to be called certain things or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's it. So, but you know what? They're wonderful people, and maybe, like I said, we're just a bunch of characters all smushed together, and maybe it doesn't work. I don't know. But individually, they're fantastic. But removing myself from an environment that created toxicity for me. Toxicity for me means made me cry, made me upset for weeks.
Of course, it's a huge decision.
Weeks.
Yeah.
But removing myself from that environment, I find that the heavens just opened up. The heavens just opened up because now you're feeling, well, I talked about that validation. I had to find my validation again. Yeah. And that's only myself. It's only me that I could give my own validation to myself, right? So stop seeking it from others. Now it's not important, and it makes me feel good if a client says, oh, I'm so glad you helped me. It was great. But I'm not waiting for that person to give me that compliment, right? I'm not seeking, right? Because I know what I can deliver as a friend, as a mother, what I can deliver as a business owner. So I had to just start from scratch and just falling in love with myself again. Because I think up until now, I was letting everybody dictate to me who I am. This is what you are, and showing me. But I wasn't that. I was not fat and ugly or, I just am who I am, And so I had to just go back a lot and just have a rebirth, if you will.
Yeah, it's a big rebirth.
Huge.
Yes. Because cutting tie, making the decision to cut tie is tremendous. Yes.
First Christmas was depressing.
For sure.
Huge. But I had to do it. It's like that bad medicine you need to take.
Yes.
And I took a lot of the bad medicine to get where we are today. And I had to take it. I had to do it.
I find your story very, it inspires, it motivates people too, because there's a lot of probably could be other wives, could be teenagers experiencing some sort of abuse at home.
Exactly. Because it's every time, like now, I've come far from it, so I don't feel that pain much anymore. But when I was in that pain, I would feel so frustrated because sometimes things that were said to me, it's like as if you want to go to the law enforcement and say, I got hurt, I got abused, but I don't have the scars on me because the scars remain on my soul and my spirit,
So what advice would you have for somebody who's going through something like that?
Oh my gosh. The advice is to take stock. First of all, realize what's going on here. Realize that if you feel sad because of what somebody's saying to you, that means you're giving this person a lot of power. And that means you have to fill your own cup. So realize that. Knowing that now, you have to now take a step back and practice cutting away from that individual, or limiting. My husband would say, oh, come on, even if they say this to you, we're driving over and they're going to say this or that. Don't take it so personally. Yeah. I hate that. You know what? I'm sorry, but I take it personal. That's how I was born and that's how I'm going to die. My husband is different. My husband is a software engineer. He's logical. His brain works differently. He's not offended. And I told him, you were raised differently. You probably got some type of nurture that fulfilled you as a child. And today, it's like, you think that of me? Whatever. Off your shoulder. For me, no. At the time, I've gotten better at it. But at the time, I don't know what it is. Maybe because I was the last kid, and I saw, and they'll tell you that I got spoiled, and they'll tell you that I got spoiled with attention. It's the wrong attention sometimes. Sometimes a child just needs to have a one-on-one, eyeball to eyeball and talk about feelings or how are you? How's it going? Not talk about, physicalities,
But do you believe that somebody can do that alone? Like, did you go about this? Because, all right, so you're walking on that beach and then you say... Did you make that decision on the spot or were you thinking about it?
I was thinking about it. I was miserable. Driving to Myrtle Beach, I was absolutely miserable. And I was thinking, what am I going to do? And I kept pondering, what's wrong with you, Laura? Why are you upset? Okay, who cares? She said this and she said that. Who cares? And I'm like, yeah, but I care. But why? Well, because, I desire so much to have, love from, your relatives. And why am I not lovable? Why can't it work? What's wrong with me? I know what's wrong with me because she said this and that, and she's right. I am maybe this. I am maybe. So now I got into this really dangerous zone of hating myself. Yeah. I hated myself for many years.
It's like a bad brainwashing Terrible programming, yes.
Terrible. To this day, I even have a hard time breathing because I would be told, you're so fat, tuck in your stomach. You're fat. So sometimes I don't even breathe properly, take those deep breaths. Because it's just psychological.
Yes.
And, I don't know why people do what they do. Maybe I inflicted it too. Like I said, last kid, maybe I have a character. Nobody's perfect. Maybe I'm a jerk too. Who knows? Yeah. But it's just so sad that we could never meet up and say, hey, I don't like what you said. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it like that,
But what I found impressive is that, so you made the decision and you stuck with it. You said, we're not going back. Yeah. That meant that you went so low at a point you're like, I've had enough.
Yes.
This is it.
So low.
So for somebody who could be experiencing something similar, so maybe do they have to reach to a point like that? Because sometimes they don't even realize.
True. Yeah. Sometimes they don't even, you do realize it if you're not happy. If you find yourself having, I call them yucky feelings, So if you find yourself feeling all of a sudden jealous, envious, worried, these are very yucky feelings. And then you have to stop yourself and say, whoa, what's going on here? Why am I feeling envious or jealous or worried? What's wrong? Okay. And then if you take that step and you realize, or sometimes, why am I feeling sad all of a sudden? Ask yourself, why are you sad all of a sudden? What happened? Oh, yes, because I just had that phone call with so-and-so and she told me this. All right. Do you believe it? Yeah, I do. Really?
So it's a lot of self-talk.
Oh my God, I talk to myself so much. Because, Cathy, in this process, I did realize that many scenes came into my head over some scenes of hurt. So all of a sudden, I'm washing a dish, and all of a sudden, a scene of maybe when I was 3 years old and I was told something would come up to my mind. Or when I was 9, something would come, an upsetting scene, an upsetting conversation, an upsetting remark, an upsetting look.
Yeah.
And I had to work through all those scenes. And when I would replay those scenes, not that I went to go fetch those scenes, they would just come to me as you're washing the dishes, taking a walk.
Yeah.
And I had to talk to myself and say, okay, let it go. That's not true. And then I found myself talking, I know I'm going to sound kooky now, but talking to my small self and my young self many times, because those scenes, show up in my mind of maybe when I was 7 or 10 or 12 or 21 being told, oh, you cry like an idiot, you're ugly cry, and it's not a joke.
Yeah.
And I had to, in that scene, intervene in that scene as Lora today and say, no, you're not ugly. You were not ugly. You're so silly. You're not ugly,
So do you find that...
a lot of self-talk.
Yeah, it is a lot, definitely. So for sure, people listening to you now, they see where you are today. So definitely there is hope.
Oh
Somebody
my God,
can
for sure.
deprogram all that nonsense from the past.
Absolutely.
And transcend themselves and become somebody new.
Yeah.
Like you said, rebirth, basically.
Oh my God, Cathy, 6 years ago, if I'm telling you these stories, I'd be on this table crying. For sure. I don't even feel pain now, even remembering those scenes. It just is what it is, I'm not mad at it anymore. You have to take the step. You have to take that bad medicine. And if you can, remove yourself from that person. If you can't deal with it, if you can't, you have to, or think of that person that is, hurting you or saying abusive things, forgive them and say that they don't know any better. It's not about you. It's not about you. But you have to really nurture yourself. Even if you cannot get away from that person, that's okay. But as long as you can make that conscious effort to nurture yourself.
Yeah. And do you find, because of those bad experiences, did they affect the way that you would view other people or the relationship, especially now in business, right?
Right. Well, my gosh, I always viewed everybody as better than me. And that's one thing that my husband, when he met me, even in our relationship early on, he would say, oh my God, you always think everybody's better than you. Everybody's better than you. You're not so bad, Lora. I'm like, no, but, she's got this and she does that and he does this and he does that. He's like, okay, Lora, and you did this, this and that. What's the problem? Oh, I guess. Okay, so I had a lot of that. So I always viewed everybody else as better because I was always told I'm not that great after all. Yeah. Right? So, I was called I'm the troublemaker, whatever, and whatever. What can I say? It's a lot of self-talk.
But I know, yes. So it wasn't easy. It was bad.
Yes.
Do you find anything that, because of the way that you do business today, the person that you've become today, what part can you say, okay, you know what? Because of all this baggage today, that made me, I don't know, stronger or...
Yeah. Oh, more compassionate.
More compassionate.
Even more. I was told I cry ugly. I cry even more now. Who cares? More compassion, much more compassionate. Even if somebody's rude to you or off, you could understand, okay, it's not about you.
You're having a bad day.
Having a bad day. People go through things. It's not about you. But much more compassion. Yes. Which you need in my line of business.
For sure.
Because I'm dealing with people that got fired, laid off, or they're frustrated, they want to move forward in their career. And then I'm dealing with employers that they just want good people to stay with them and work well and help them become even more prosperous and work with them. And so it's a lot of compassion,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now your business is doing well. You have kids. a husband at home.
I got my credit cards back. And I could pay them by myself too. Yay! So far, so good.
We're happy for you, for sure. Do you believe that there is such a thing as work-life balance as a mom and a business owner?
Yes, there is. Absolutely. There is? You have to set boundaries. You have to put the boundaries. You have to tell yourself, okay, like for myself, I could work nonstop because, I could talk to candidates, especially in the evenings where sometimes candidates are working during the day and they're hard to reach. So I could take my time into the evening and, but no, after a while, I tell myself, okay, as of 6, that's it. Because what happens is then I don't have time to exercise and, children need to be picked up and spoken to. You got to be present with your kids, right? You can cook a meal. So I just set boundaries. And it's also being very organized too. So like, for example, in my day is crazy, but then I'll say, all right, it's 3:45. The kids will walk home soon. Let me just go put some food out and say hi to them. And I know that by 4:15, I'll be back at the desk. So, I could have that next interview at 4:15, 4:30. I could go on till 6 because the kids are fed. I know they're doing their homework. You just management. And learning to say no.
Learning to say no.
Learning to say no and to ask. Sometimes people say, oh, well, let's meet at this time. And I know that, no, that's when I exercise. I can't meet you at that time, I'm thinking.
It's self-care moment.
You got to have that self-care moment and say, and just try. It doesn't hurt to ask and say, Jimmy, can't meet you at 9:30 that day. How about 11? Is that okay with you? Mm-hmm. If he said, you try to work it out. Yeah. Sometimes people just say yes, yes, yes to everything. Take the time to not completely say no, but maybe ask and see, hey, is there another time by chance that we could meet? Because they don't have to know that that's the time you finally get to exercise. They don't have to know that. But, it doesn't hurt to ask. Yes. Because that moment of exercise is so important. It's going to give you so much fuel for the rest of the day or whatever it is. It could be a walk. It could be that's when you like to go get your facials or your nails done. It doesn't matter, but it's important that you take that time.
For yourself.
Because then what I noticed is that when I would just say yes, yes, yes to the world, then I had no time to exercise or to do my nails or just to even take a walk. And I'd always be frustrated and angry. And I taught myself to always ask myself the question, okay, what's wrong, Lora? Why are you angry now? What's going on? What's going on? And I'd be like, yeah, what's going on is that I didn't get my time today. I didn't get to play, You're right. So what are we going to do about it? So go in your calendar, block that time.
I like how you talk to yourself like that.
I talk to myself. Oh, I'm kooky. I talk to myself all the time.
And what are some of the challenges that you faced growing your business?
Oh, well, my goodness. The very first. So when my husband says, you're going to start Personnel Chez Vous, and I said, okay, great. Now, how am I going to do that? Nice name, Mike, but how am I going to do that? And he says, well, when I get home, we'll talk tonight. I said, all right, whatever. So the next few days, okay, I went downtown, I opened the business. And then the next few days, he says, great. So, the first child, Amanda, was going to La Garderie, was going to daycare. We're so franglais here. Sorry. We're going to daycare. And I had my baby who was not yet in daycare. And I was depressed, saying, my God, how am I going to, okay, I started Personnel Chez Vous. I quit. Oh, my God. Okay. And now what? Here I am again. Now what? And he says, I don't care. He says, you're going to get out of bed. You're going to bring this baby to my mother's in St. Leonard, the east end of Montreal. And you're going to sit in her dining room or go to the local library. And he says, I don't care what you do. If you stare at your screen for 6 hours, I don't care. Just get out of this bed and go to my mother's. Or you go to the library and you're going to figure it out. Just sit there and figure it out. I don't know. How do you start your recruitment business? I don't know. He says, you worked at the agency. You figure it out. Yeah. You do your research. Figure it out. So I'm like, what a guy. I hate him. But you know what? That's what I did. So I would actually go in this Italian home, my mother-in-law's St. Leonard home, and she's taking care of my baby, and I'm upstairs, and the big dining room table with the plastic cover on top, and I put my computer on it, and I'm like, oh my God. And then, it's lunchtime. She's like, Lora, you want some meat? I'm like, no, I don't want lunch. I don't want anything. I'm feeling miserable. I don't know what to do. What am I doing?
I have to figure this out.
Oh, Lora, you got to eat something. No, don't come to me with food. Nothing, Anyway, but slowly I figured it out. And I said, I started to write to some companies, and, I worked on my writing skills and approaching and probing. And, then one day somebody says, yeah, I'd love your services. Sure, I need an account technician. It so happened to be. I said, oh my God, my first mandate, And that first mandate, I told the client, that potential client, I said, well, that's wonderful. I said, I really would like to come meet you. Because for me, it's so important to meet the employer, to step into their world, to grab that essence of the employer, the essence of the work environment. That way I could tell candidates, hey, your boss is this type of funny, or this type of seriousness, or the vibe is this way, the vibe is that way. It's so important to tell candidates.
You take it very seriously.
I take it so seriously, absolutely. Because how are you going to tell, Shirley that she's up for this accounting position, and then Shirley's going to say, well, what's the boss like? You owe it to your candidates to say, oh, I think Shirley, you are a bubbly person, and you're going to adore your boss, your potential new boss. He is so bubbly, just like you. Like, it's important. Anyway, long story short, I told this gentleman, I'd like to come see your workplace. No problem. So I got there, and I walked out with 5 mandates. Not only did he need an account technician, he needed like 4 other positions filled. And I said, this is amazing. Like, wow, my first client. And it's a big one. Like, my God, my first big client, So I started to work on it, fulfilled all the mandates. And then he happened to be, he ended up being a little bit pesty and put me through the ringer and didn't want to pay half my fees.
Oh, no.
Just wanted to nickel and dime me. Maybe because I showed a lack of self-esteem because it was my first client. So I don't know what came. I don't know. But I had to get a lawyer involved.
Oh, my God.
And I thought...
Being in business is not easy.
It's not easy. But you know what? That was my first mandate as a true blue entrepreneur. And it took me through the whole ringer. And it's like as if the God or the universe says, are you ready? Because I'm gonna trash your hair all over this. You ready? You want to be an entrepreneur? I'm gonna show you from A to Z what it means. How, getting from cold calling to getting the client to doing the job and fulfilling the mandates, then dealing with the client that doesn't want to pay, getting the lawyer involved. I'm gonna take you through it. And after all that, I still loved it.
Yes, because it's within you. That's what you said at the beginning.
It's within me.
Yes.
And the original mandate for this client was the accounting technician. And she would tell her boss, Lora is so nice. Why are you doing this to her? Pay all her bills. Why do you have to nickel and dime her? And that's how he was convinced to then just pay me. So I didn't have to get the lawyers involved anymore because of my candidate. My first candidate that I filled for Personnel Chez Vous told her boss, my client, just pay her.
Because she's
I see what you're earning here. Give the girl a break.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Because you took care of that candidate. That's why. Yes.
Like exactly. Everybody. And I was surprised. Anyway. But that's what I'm saying is that when you remove yourself from toxicity, from a toxic relationship, an environment, even toxic food, when you just ask yourself, why am I not well? Why am I grumpy? Why am I having a yucky feeling? What's wrong? Ask yourself that. What's wrong? Why am I bloated? Why am I constipated? Because you're not eating well. Why am I not feeling good? Yeah. There's something not right. And you take that step back and just ponder. Is it a toxic food you ingested? All right. Don't be mad at yourself. You know better.
Don't do it next time.
Don't do it for a while. Is it a terrible conversation you had? And you know what I got better at? When I'm dealing with somebody and it's not authentic and I'm feeling it, I call it out.
You tell the person.
I say, this is like even a new prospective client. I always tell them after I tell them about our terms and conditions, I always say, I'm going to pretend you're a client, Cathy. So Cathy, these are my terms and conditions. At the end of the day, we have to get along. If you don't like me, it's not going to work. because I'm going to be servicing you and I'm going to be talking to you every 2 days at least. So we have to get along, right? Yeah. And if something's like not authentic or they're skeptical, I call it. I'll say, Cathy, I feel like you're skeptical. If we're not right for you, it's okay. Yeah. You know?
So the confidence that you have today.
Because you call it. You call the emotions. You call it, you know?
And where do you see your firm a few years from now? What are your long-term goals?
My long-term goal, I really would love to teach others how to run a recruitment company from their kitchen table. You know, somebody who has, like I did, you know, a low self-esteem, a lack of confidence, but has that certain spark inside to be an amazing customer service rep. Because that's what my job is at the end of the day, right? It's providing excellent customer service, doing the due diligence, finding the candidates, giving candidates excellent customer service and telling them, okay, client is not going to meet you. This is why. Or the client will meet you in a week. Here's the interview schedule. Or talking to the employer and say, all right, customer service. I haven't found anybody yet. You know, I know it's a week, but it's hard. Your salary maybe is a bit too low, or can we adjust something? Or, hey, Billy, I found a lot of candidates for you. Here are 5 that merit your time. That's customer service, always following up on both sides. And I lost my train of thought. I talked too much.
No, that you want to do a consulting.
So I'd love to teach those that lack of self-esteem, but have a spark, and would love to be the commander of their own time because they have that entrepreneurial, you know, shine inside.
Yes.
I'd like to teach them that. I'd like to help them and show them how you can run this business, how you could set it up, you know,
from scratch, and then
find
clients and
find
prosper.
clients, how to service them, how to prosper. I mean, I have a client out in California. They're phenomenal. We've placed about 15 people for them. Nice. All of them are mostly engineers, of a variety of different engineers. Scanning, imaging specialists, specialists with shader languages, and all this tech stuff, Cathy, that I still can't wrap my head around it. I don't understand it because I'm not a tech girl.
Yes.
I'm from the world of finance. And I asked my client, and these are guys and gals that have 25 patents out there in Los Angeles, and they're going to revolutionize the way, you know, film and imaging is going to be rendered for Hollywood.
Interesting.
So, for example, something like, you know, back scene of The Matrix, the scene in Matrix, that imaging probably took 2-3 weeks to finally get it up and composed and right. Well, my clients have patents that their software and their technology could render an image within a couple of hours for Hollywood, right? And gaming and everything. And I asked them, I still don't even understand what the heck you guys are doing. Why are you hiring me? Me in Montreal, you know, to help you with finding all these engineers, you know, that. And he says, it's because, Lora, you're efficient. You're efficient and you're approachable. So this is what I want to teach others. I want to teach others not to be afraid to go out of your comfort zone. Not let anybody tell you, you know, for example, there's a doctor in Texas that through a mutual contact, she heard of me. And this mutual contact said, why don't you call Lora? She gave me a call. And she says, Lora, I'm a doctor here in Texas, and I'd like to start my own recruitment company. I said, oh, my God, that's amazing. She says, yes. She says, I'd like to help doctors find a position in private clinics. Because here the doctors in Texas, I know they get very abused in the public systems. When we have specialists that would be remarkable in the private sector. I said, that's amazing. I said, I wish I was a doctor. I wish I was an engineer. I mean, it would make my job even better and easier. I said, good for you. It's amazing. Anyway, she called me a few months after that conversation, and she told me, Lora, it's because of you that I really started my company.
Really?
I said, oh, come on. She says, Lora, everybody in Texas, I was talking to many other recruitment companies, and they all discouraged me from starting my business.
Because it's like a competitor. Yes.
I don't know why. I said, no, they told her because you don't know the business. Why don't you start somewhere and learn it? I said, but I couldn't disagree more because you as a doctor understand the pain of a doctor and the potential, and you understand the needs of a private clinic. It's so perfect. Anyway, she says, you inspired me, and that's why I started. And I thought, you see, this is what I planned for my company. I'd love to teach others how to do it.
I like that. Did you feel like we missed anything from your story or the business side of things before we switch to the short questions?
No, I just really want to be clear that, if anybody listening out there, like anything toxic.
Mm-hmm. Get it out.
Do yourself. And you know what? I thought to myself one day, it really touches me because I realized that we're mortal.
Yeah.
And you have to live your best life. And it makes me cry. It makes me cry because nobody's allowed. Nobody's allowed to talk to you badly. Nobody's allowed to tell you you're ugly or you can't. Nobody's allowed to do that to you. Mm-hmm. Nobody.
Like take your time.
That's the message I want to give out.
Nobody has that right. Only
Nobody
you get
has
to dictate.
That right.
Yes.
And I'm crying because I feel so passionate about it because we're mortals and you have to live your best life. And, if you have something inside of you, if if you like to be of service, let it be in the military or as a doctor, or you want to be a recruiter, or you want to be an accountant, whatever your dreams are, whatever, it's sky's the limit. Just go for it.
Yeah.
And don't let anybody ever discourage you. And those that you feel wouldn't support you, don't tell them. Don't tell everybody your dreams. Keep it to yourself sometimes, Maybe find a mentor that you can trust. Ask the right questions. Instead of saying, do you think I could do it? Ask the question, what does it take? How did you start doing what you do, Cathy? Yeah. And just listen. Be a good listener. Be a good listener. And listen to yourself first. Listen to your gut,
I like that.
And don't, that's why it makes me, it just, not angry, just, I don't know why. It just makes me cry. It's not fair. We're mortals and we have to live our best life. And we have so much to give to this world. It's a shame to have, your talents
wasted.
Yes. Because you're bothered by what somebody said, or you're handicapped by, you're just beside yourself by something rude or something negative that you ingested, let it be verbally or by food or an environment. So get out of it. Just get out of it. Take the bad medicine, get out of it. For me, it meant being lonely just with my family for a few Christmases, But I did it because I wanted to start it. Now my kids ask me for our traditions because Lora created her own tradition in her house. And we're happy. We go to bed happy. Kumbaya, as my husband says. Nobody cried, and we're at peace.
I feel like anybody who's watching that, they want to jump, they're afraid, they should talk to you. Talk to Lora.
Anytime. Oh my God,
so Lora, let's switch a little bit quickly to the city of Montreal because that's where we live.
I should have brought Kleenex. My goodness.
You look good, Lora. What do you like about the city of Montreal, since the podcast is named after the city?
Ooh, yes. Well, it's very vibrant. Cuisine is amazing. You can find good food anywhere in Montreal. I love that. You know what I love about our city so much is that people keep their own heritage cultures alive.
Yes.
And I think that's so nice. So it's such a fun place to celebrate everybody's culture. Mm-hmm. Like when it's Greek Easter, we all know about it, and we're telling our Greek friends, hey, it's your Easter, happy Easter, or Ramadan, or, it's nice that we all still, we're not like a melting pot. We really keep our tradition. We
celebrate diversity, basically.
We really celebrate diversity. So we have lots of fun with that. That's what I love about our city. And that... also, it's we're very proud. I find that we're all very helpful. Like even the business community, we all listen to each other. We want to help each other. There's a lot of great networking, clans out there, if you want to call them, or organizations that really support the growth of Montreal and help celebrate each other. That's been my experience anyway.
And is there somebody or an entrepreneur or a business that you would like to endorse on the show that's in Montreal?
Wow, there are a few. All of my clients I would endorse because they're all phenomenal. I really work with wonderful companies that authentically want to strive and just go for it. There's so many. Ben Levine Brothers is one of them. They've been in business for 100 years. It's amazing. It's amazing what they do, and they have little turnover. Ben's called me a couple of times for a few little mandates to help them find some staff, but they have no staff problems. Like it's because maybe somebody had to be promoted or something like that. My clients too. I mean, just recently I serviced one company. That's really cool. They called WCNCO or WC&Co brand. It's really cool because they're a branding company, but they are main distributor for many Italian specialty foods that we see in the grocery stores. I just found them a sales rep, really proud of what they've accomplished. They're dynamic. They're incredible. Oh my God, there's so many. I love my business lawyer, Nadine Shalati and her sister, who's the notary, Dahlia Shalati. They are phenomenal. They're phenomenal because they have strong business ethics and they're straight shoot. What makes everybody phenomenal that I'm mentioning is because they're straight shooters. There's no hidden agenda, with their suppliers, i.e. me being one of their suppliers and helping them find, staff. They're straight shooters. They're fair employers. And they're even what they deliver in terms of their services or products, it's authentic, right? Nice. And that's what I love. It's just these companies that have the authentic, just being authentic with their products and services and not, having no hidden agenda.
We'll make sure they hear what you have to say about him. All right. So quickly, one favorite book?
Oh my God. My all-time favorite book that helped me get this started is The 1001 Principles from Jack Canfield. That book was really the book that kicked me in the butt and gave me that you can do this attitude.
You can do this.
I love that book and I still have it. It's like a business Bible for me. It has 1001 principles in business, and one of them is like, you're going to get a lot of no's, You got to keep going at it. And a few of the principles also in that book is authenticity. And I really believe that. Yeah. I really believe that we have to be authentic. Maybe that's why I'm such a big crier, because I'm authentically touched, You have to be authentic,
yes, especially in business and all relationships, basically.
You have to be, if you want to sleep at night and you want your business to prosper, of course your business is going to prosper. If you're authentic with your staff, you're authentic with your clients, your suppliers, and authentic means, with your supplier. If you think, hey, this is a bit too expensive, what do you think? Just ask the questions, right? Be authentic. Yeah. I find your product expensive. What can you do?
Mm-hmm. Be frank.
Be frank. Yeah. Be frank. Be authentic. Even with your employees, Mm-hmm. I find you look tired these days.
What's going on?
Or is this job you're a smart person. Is this job a little bit too boring for you? Should we talk about more responsibilities?
Definitely.
Be authentic. Mm-hmm. Be real. Be real.
Stop putting a facade and pretend.
Just be, and that's it. And have fun, Anyway, that's your take on it. That's my take on it.
Okay, and one of my last questions is, what's your favorite mistake?
My favorite mistake is letting people direct. My favorite mistake is allowing people to tell me who I am when it's not true. Allowing people, it's just taking things personally. No, just allowing people to tell me, whatever it is that did not make me feel good, and taking it, and not standing up saying, no, wait a second, I'm not like that. Well, if that's what you think, if you think I cry ugly, oh well.
Because you've moved that, you passed that.
Yeah. So that's my favorite mistake, and that was, and it cost me many years of many years of depression, you know. So I'm just so glad that I finally saw the light that day in Myrtle Beach. And I said, I have to cut it, you know. And that's when it all started to flourish even more.
I know you gave us a lot of good, a lot of inspiring, how could I say, statements. If there were one last thing you wanted for everybody to get out of this podcast, what would it be? One last message.
Just be. Just be. Just be you. Just be you. Just be you and do you. Just do you. And I have a friend, I love what she says. She always says, just stay in your lane. Just stay in your lane. That's my friend Olga. Just stay in your lane. And she's right. You know, just do you. Do you, be you, be kind, share your light. First, give your light to yourself first, and then you could share it with everybody else. Because if you can't nurture yourself, if you cannot love yourself, nobody's going to do it for you. I promise. Nobody.
Nobody's going to show up.
We come here alone. We're going to leave here alone. So you have to be your own best friend and fill yourself up first. And then just share it.
Nice.
And when you lack it, take a step back. Ask yourself, what are you lacking? Go get it. It could be that massage. It could be that exercise routine. Yeah. Don't go for the donuts. Don't do that. That's toxic food. But, you know, do something good. And just be happy.
I like that. That was really nice, Lora. That was really nice. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
Very encouraging, because a lot of people have pain inside and they wonder, can I go up that hill?
Yes,
can I do it?
Yes.
But you today, you represent,
yes.
You're like proof. If she can do it, I can do it.
You could get out of that sticky mud and go up that hill. Yeah, you can.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
To the Montreal Entrepreneur Podcast,
Thank you so much. Thank you.